Close your eyes and let me take you back 5,000 years into the quiet dark of history. There is an empire larger than any other, and I think when you hear its name, you might be surprised. Settle in, get comfortable, because tonight we are going to watch something beautiful. Every empire that ever rose, every kingdom that ever stretched its fingers across the earth, all of them, in one long, slow breath. From the tiniest city, no bigger than a whisper, to giants that swallowed the horizon. Just breathe and listen. It begins in the soft cradle of two rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. Around 3,500 BC, the Sumerians, they built the first cities, so small you could walk across one in a morning. 20 square kilometers, no larger than a gentle dream, but from this tiny seed, all the rest would grow, like a river, starts from a single drop. 1,000 years pass, like a slow blink, and Egypt begins to glow. The new kingdom stretches from the warm sands of Sudan to the olive groves of Syria. 1 million square kilometers of gold and grain and gods. Pharaohs built pyramids that touch the stars. And yet, on our quiet chart, this is only the beginning of the dream. Then comes Persia, and the dream grows wider. In 500 BC, the Achaemenid Empire drifts like a cloud from Egypt across the deserts to the mountains of Central Asia, 5.5 million square kilometers. For the first time, one gentle hand rests upon everything, from the Mediterranean Sea to the Indus River. This is what a superpower looks like when it sleeps. A young man enters the dream, Alexander, 20 years old, with eyes full of fire. In just 13 years, he gathers Persia, Egypt, India into his arms. 5.2 million square kilometers held together by one beating heart. And then the heart stops. 32 years old, the dream scatters like morning mist. A reminder that even the brightest stars are only borrowed light. Now the dream splits into two rivers, running parallel across the world. In the west, Rome, 5 million square kilometers of stone roads, and legions and law. In the east, Han China, 6.5 million of silk and paper and wisdom. They never touched, like two sleepers in different rooms, dreaming the same dream of empire. If they had met, history would have hummed a different tune, but they didn't, and so the dream remained in two soft pieces. And then, from the steppes, comes the wind. Genghis Khan, his sons, his grandsons, horsemen who move like weather across the grasslands, from the Pacific to the edge of Europe, from Siberia to Vietnam. 24 million square kilometers, the largest contiguous dream ever dreamed by humankind. built in less than a century, and gone almost as quickly, like a storm that reshapes the earth, then moves on, to let the grass grow again. But empire is not always a sword. Sometimes it is a lantern. The caliphate spread from Arabia like warm light, across North Africa, into Spain, east to Samarkand. 11 million square kilometers, but more than land, they carried knowledge. For the first time, the world's wisdom flowed in one direction. Baghdad, Cordoba, stars and numbers and medicine. This was not just Earth. This was a dream of light. And now we reach the widest point of the dream. The British Empire. In 1920, it holds vast quarter of all the Earth. 35.5 million square kilometers, 458 million people across every continent, in every time zone. The sun never sets upon it, because somewhere, always, it is morning. In British lands, this is the largest empire history has ever known. The dream at its fullest, before the long exhale. But if we step back and look at all of them together, a pattern emerges. Persia rises early, like the morning star. Rome holds so steady for centuries, nuts like a candle in a still room. The Mongols flare, brilliant, then fade, like a match in the dark. And Britain waits, patient, quiet, then takes everything at the very end, like someone who has been listening to the whole story before speaking a single word. But here is the truth, that the dream always whispers. They all must end. Rome that dissolves. The Mongols scatter like seeds. The British Empire folds itself away. After the Second Great War, in a single generation, the average empire lives 250 years. Some may assemble less than a decade. Land is easy to gather, but impossible to hold. Every border you have ever seen is only a temporary line drawn in the sand before the tide returns. But there were dreams that history nearly forgot. And I want to tell you about them before you drift further. Kanem Bornu, in Africa, 1100 years, longer than Rome ever lasted. The Khmer Empire, builders of Angkor Wat, 6 centuries of quiet glory. The Timurids of Central Asia, vast, brilliant, and now barely a name. Why do we remember some dreams and lose others? Perhaps because every sleeper chooses their own story. Let me give you something to hold in your hands, because numbers are just clouds until you feel them. The Mongol Empire was larger than Russia, China, and the Middle East, all woven together. The British Empire could hold the United States, India, Australia, Bast, and half of Africa, with room to breathe. Your own country, wherever you are, was likely once just a chapter in someone else's dream. Sleep now, knowing you are part of a much longer story.
If we turned 5,000 years into a single day, a 24-hour clock, most empires would not last a single minute. Rome, 12 minutes. The Mongols, 30 seconds. Alexander, less than a blink. And yet, we name our children after these dreamers. We remember their wars, their names, not because they stayed, but because, for one brief moment, they were everything. And then, they let the dream continue without them. But here is the secret that the maps do not tell you. Land is not power. People are power. The Mongols ruled an ocean of grass, but it was mostly empty. 24 million square kilometers and perhaps 100 million souls. Han China, half the land, but 60 million hearts, beating as one. Size is not the dream. It is what you build within it. A small room full of love is larger than an empty palace. Remember this when you wake. And so the dream settles. Here is what remains. Number 3, the Russian Empire, 22.8 million square kilometers. Number 2, the Mongol Empire, 24 million. And number 1, the British Empire, 35.5 million in 1920. The largest dream ever dreamed. By land, by reach, by the quiet weight of memory. But dreams do not truly end. They only change their shape. America inherited Britain's ships. China tends the old Han gardens. Russia still walks the Mongol steppes in different boots. The empires never died. They learned new names, new masks. Something softer, something we do not call empire, but feels very much the same. Think on this as the dream deepens. Will there be another dream so vast? Perhaps in the stars, on Mars, in the quiet wires between our screens. Or perhaps we have learned to dream smaller, to sleep without conquering. The age of empires may be closing, like a long book whose final chapter is still being written by gentler hands. What do you think? Not now, but in the morning. For now, just rest. The dream will wait for you. 5,000 years, hundreds of dreams, one long story, and here we are at the end, which is also the beginning. If this story carried you, let it carry you again. If you drifted, drift back. The empires will be here, waiting, patient, like old friends who never leave. History repeats, and so does this dream. Close your eyes now. Let the borders blur. Let the maps fade. And sleep in the quiet empire of your own mind. Good night.